Hello again. Well, two of us have decided to come and explore parts of Norfolk and Suffolk. I believe it's Suffolk we're in at the moment. Shingle Street Beach we've come down to. Not an area we've been before, but we've seen some rather beautiful mono black and white images. So we thought we'd head somewhere different and see what we could find. And as is very often the case, when you come to a new place, you look around for different compositions and you kind of, or I do at least, suffer with, oh my god, there's so much you can see that it kind of blows your mind. So you need a little bit of time to have a look around, get your bearings, see what you think would make a decent composition. The beach is absolutely amazing. It is just pebbles of varying sizes. There's a very steep drop off where the water hits, I don't know if you can see, probably not, hits on the actual pebbles, and I'm not sure if you can see where the water's just lapping up against the beach itself. It's almost like silk or oil in the way it falls off of the pebbles. There's a couple of little houses just there which I'm using in the composition I've got, which is very simple. It's using this curve and the houses. There's very little detail in the sky. The water is very much the same colour as the sky at the moment, pale yucky grey, no real detail to speak of. But it really is just a case of going. It's not what I'd normally shoot, however. There are images to be had here, and it's a case of having a wander round. But it's gloriously peaceful. We've seen a couple of dog walkers and that's it. So at the moment I am trying to get to grips with using the 70 to 200. Excuse the bag, I've been out shooting motocross on Monday. I haven't taken the protective bag off the lens. I've got the Lee 10 stop on and a soft grab just to try and hold the sky back a little bit. And I'm shooting at f11 ISO 100. And the last image I got, which I'm kind of happy with, 44 seconds. It will be converted to mono when we go back. But yeah, it's quite mind-blowing to start with. Anyway, so anyway, I am going to go off for a wander and see what else I can find. Bye. Well, we've made our way down to Dovercourt and the beach at Dovercourt to shoot. If you can just see, you can just make it out in the distance. There's a little lighthouse, very strange little building. Getting some long exposures, aiming for very minimal shots, blending the sky and the horizon, because there's no colour in the sky. We knew that it was a risk coming down here for sunset. We didn't expect there to be much colour in the sky. The cloud detail, you can just see up here, is beginning to show through. But we both came down, myself and Andy, with the intention of minimal shots in black and white. And we've managed to get it so far. It's been really good. Just dotted along the beach, you can just see the wooden groins going out, and on the end of them, little poles with little cages on the top. I'm going to do some research as to what they are. And then over in the far corner, on the far side, there's the port. We've seen some huge tankers coming in there tonight. But it's mild, bit of a breeze. The tide is just beginning to come in. And I've currently got a long exposure set up using the Lee 10 stop and the polarizer to try and blend the two parts of the image together, the sky and the sea. And I'm just shooting down this wooden jetty with the pole at the end. The 10 stop is smoothing out the water. You can see the tide is just starting to come in, but it's so calm, there's no real movement in the water. And we're debating whether to head back to Felixstowe. There's some beautiful concrete sea defences, I guess they are, in the water over there. The tide will be coming in over them now, so there's options, there's possibilities there for doing some long exposures as well. But this is apparently Dovercourt's award-winning beach. I'm contemplating having tea here. So, yeah, it's been good so far. A nice chilled out Friday, nice way to end the week. We're still going to get for sunrise. We'll probably come back here in the hope that there'll be some colour, but we're not expecting anything. I say we both made the decision that today is about black and white and minimal shots. Catch you later. Well, we've come back down to Felixstowe for a sunset, which isn't showing much signs of happening. I guess you can see just a little bit of colour in the sky here. But it is trying, but it's really not going to do anything. But the reason for the visit, now the tide's come in, is these absolutely gorgeous, I'm guessing they're sea defences of some description, a beautiful curve out with just a little bit that juts off to the right. And I've had a bit of a tricky descent over these boulders because Andy's down at the other side. He's shooting, those down there. So I thought I'd come around and have a go at these. Mountaineering is not one of my fortes. However, I'm here. The sea defence boulders are absolutely huge. The sea isn't quite as active as we'd like. It's a very, very calm night, very still day. Just a little bit of a breeze. And we were thinking of coming back here for sunrise. However, it's about 50 minutes from the campsite, and that would mean leaving the campsite at 4 o'clock, which I really don't fancy doing. So we're just going to head back to Dovercourt for sunrise, and then possibly take a whiz back over here because the sky is supposed to be better tomorrow morning. The weather is supposed to be better. So I'm just doing a long exposure, excuse me, nice and simple in the composition, using those as a lead-in line. The little, where is it? I can't get my hand right there. Little pole at the end, and there's a ship just out there, getting right in my way. However, shooting at f11. I've upped the ISO to 200, and I've got the 10 stop on, so I've adjusted the white balance to 10,000 kelvins, so I don't have to faff around in post-processing. And I still I still have the snow feet on because I couldn't be bothered to take them off. And we didn't know what we were going to find. We didn't know if it was going to be a beach. We didn't know if it was going to be rocks. So I thought I'd leave them on. They're easy enough to carry. But it's really good to come and explore different places. And this is definitely somewhere we'd like to come back to again. It's about 3.5 hours, 4 hours from home. So it's not out of the question to do on a day. But after here, it is time for tea, head back to the campsite, get a relatively early night, ready for sunrise in the morning. So I'll catch you in the morning. Bye. I'm not really prone to giving hints and tips because I don't think of myself as good enough a photographer to give advice or hints and tips to other photographers. However, there is one piece of kit and one piece of advice that I will give. If you're coming down to shoot on a beach, the sand is very soft. The feet of your tripod will very often sink in. It destabilises your image. So one of the best things I've ever purchased are these snow feet or snowshoes. I think they were about 15 quid and they're absolutely brilliant. On the occasions when I've shot with the water coming in and the water has been rushing over the feet, it's kept my tripod rock steady, where I have before had occasions where I've got image shake because the tripod has slowly sunk into the ground. These feet give you a wider area to spread the weight of the tripod and the camera. So that's probably my one and only tip, is if you're going to shoot a lot on the beach or in snow, as the name it sort of gives the clue, get a set of these. You can of course use CDs. I've seen a couple of photographers that use CDs. I'm prone to losing CDs. These I find are big enough that I can't actually lose them. So that's my hint and tip for the day. Get yourself some snowshoes. Well, it's been a really good morning. Not quite what we'd hoped for in the way of sunshine and sunrise. However, some lovely long minimal exposures. Yeah, it's been a good morning, well worth getting up reasonably early for. 4 o'clock start this morning. Blue sky is starting to show through. Some fair detail in the sky. Highly recommend a trip down to Dovercourt. Nice campsite, easy to get here, nobody around. So we're back to the campsite now, pack up, and then we're off to Shingle Street. Well, we've had an hour or so at Shingle Street, having had a really good morning at Dovercourt. We decided to come back here because the sky was turning into something rather good. And I must admit, it's fascinating sitting on the beach watching the waves coming in over the shingle. It makes really strange patterns. When Andy's gone off for a wander over to the other side, I decided to come back to the car and put my little camping stove on, because it's time for a cup of tea, because I missed it at breakfast. Well, we've had a quick stop on the way home to find what you can see in the background is a windmill, and it's Herringfleet Windmill. It's about 10, maybe 15 minutes walk from where we were parked to get here. And what we were hoping for was nice blue sky that side with some water, which is over the other side of this reed bed that you can see here. What we've got is 2 men working on the windmill, one of whom is very kindly wearing a high-vis jacket, and a strategically parked red quad, and very little water in the river over there. I want to go over that side, but the guy with the high-vis jacket is actually working on that side of the windmill. So even with a long exposure, I'm going to end up with this bright yellow splodge. So I've settled for a simple composition here. I've got the camera set up, as you can see. I'm not entirely sure you can see all of this, but just here there's a bed of reeds, and I'm just using the tops of those to shield the quad, keep that out of view. Luckily the guy working on this side is wearing black, so he kind of blends in a little bit. There is a breeze, so the clouds are moving quite nicely. I'm using a 10 stop, and I'm using a bigger aperture than I normally would. I'm at f18 because it is so bright. I need to slow the exposure down. Even with the 10 stop on, I'm still struggling to get any movement in the cloud. I've got the polarizer on, and a soft edge 0.6 ND grad filter on as well, just to even the exposure in the sky a little bit. And I'm getting an exposure time of roughly 1 minute. That's giving me a little bit of detail in the sky. But even with people working on the water, the windmill and bright red quads, it's still a lovely place to be. The weather's turned beautiful. It's been an interesting weekend. I'd come down, as I've said, with the intention of doing black and white images, minimal images, long exposures. I've got what I hope is exactly what I was after. It certainly looks like it on the back of the camera screen. And the next challenge is to process them, because I have a vision in my mind of how I want them to look. So get them off the camera, get them to Photoshop, and then process them to end up as I'm imagining them is the next challenge. Getting the image right in camera is the first step. Let's turn around that way, that's better. Yeah, getting the image right in the camera is the first step. And the second step is then to create what you saw or what you wanted to see in Photoshop afterwards. So it's going to be a couple of hours tomorrow figuring out how to get it looking exactly how I want it to look. So from here we are heading home. It's been a cracking weekend. Got to wait until the end of May now for the next one. Thanks for watching, guys. See you soon. Bye.